Hey guys, welcome back to Off the Field Cricket Podcast. If you've not been following our channel, we've been analyzing the IPL teams, and today we're going to be focusing on the Chennai Super Kings, which is led by the man, the myth, the legend, Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Thala.
Yeah, and we've made a tribute video for him as well. If you would like to see that, we'll link it up. So, how we're going to structure this today is we're going to be talking about the strengths and weaknesses of the team. Then we're going to be looking at their auction buys. Then we segue into our playing 11s. And finally, we give our predictions for where CSK ends up on the league table this year. Let's start with the strengths. When you think about CSK, you automatically think about consistency. Consistency. These two C's go together: CSK and consistency. If you see whether it's the consistency in team selection or consistency in reaching the playoffs, CSK is always right up there. They have, when you see their playing 11, they have very familiar names in their playing 11. They have the likes of Dhoni, Raina, Jadeja, Bravo, even Watson and Duplessis have been there for a while now. So I think the good thing that they do is they have a great core and they build their team around it each year when the auction happens. So I think this consistency in team selection helps them consistently reach the playoffs. So this is one major positive that CSK has.
So talking about so I'll just add on to that. So talking about consistency and team selection, I feel there is so much clarity and surety within the team and within the players that often when they go onto the field, they're so wary of their role and why they've been selected in the team that doesn't keep playing on their minds, that whether they'll be in the next match, whether they'll not be in the next match, whether they'll be dropped, whether they won't. So this is something that doesn't keep playing in a player's mind, especially a young player's mind. If they have been told specifically by the team management or the leadership group that you are our man, you are a match winner, you will play all 14 games or majority of the games leading up to the finals. So if that kind of confidence and surety is instilled within a player, automatically you'll begin to see results as you reach the latter half of the tournament. So that has been a huge positive in terms of the CSK team selection and team lineup is concerned. If you go back to 2018, right, 2019, when CSK reached the finals, they backed Shane Watson right from game 1 to the finals. He didn't deliver till game 14. So that is the speciality of the man, the Thala, that regardless of how he performed, he understood Shane Watson as a person. He understood that he's following the right process approaching to the game. And, at some point or the other, he'll end up clicking. And we saw that result. And Shane Watson ended up delivering in the final, scored 76 odd. So, yeah, that's...
Even on the 2018 final, I think he was struggling, especially in the later half of the tournament. I think he got a 10-ball duck in qualifier 1, but that did not make him lose his position from the team. And when you see the final, I think he went berserk in 2018. He made 100 and he single-handedly won the game for CSK. So that backing, it has helped the team reach the playoffs and even perform well in the finals and playoffs regularly.
Second of all, I think it's very important to highlight, since considering the fact that the IPL is being played in the UAE, we repeat this time and time again. We repeat it so incessantly because it's so important. The presence of a quality spin lineup. And to list a few, they have Piyush Chawla, Harbhajan Singh. If he'll be playing, there are speculations that he may not be able to make it to the IPL this year. There is Ravindra Jadeja, Mitchell Santner, someone who troubled India so much in the semi-final. Something that will be etched into the hearts of every Indian. Then Imran Tahir, Arsai Kishore, a new left arm off spinner that they've made the inclusion of in the lineup.
He played very well in the TNPL, the Tamil Nadu Premier League. That is why he has been picked in the CSK.
And of course, you have the unconventional, unorthodox off spin of Kedar Jadhav, if you ever need it in that case.
And also, ideally, they won't need anyone else. But even if these guys fail, you have Suresh Raina as a part-time spinner. So they have enough bowling power, enough spin bowling power.
And they have a wide array of spinners, because if you need a leg spinner, you have a leg spinner. If you need a right arm off spinner, you have a right arm off spinner. If you need a left arm off spinner, you do have that too. So there's so much.
An unconventional spinner, you have an unconventional.
Yeah, you have an unconventional spinner.
They cover all departments.
So all bases are covered. They've kept no stone unturned in terms of the spin department is concerned. And the only concern a little bit, which we'll talk about in negatives, is the pace battery, but we'll cover that later. And leading up from the bowlers, the spin lineup, we go on to the good Indian core that they have. As this links back and reinforces the point of consistency. I think the Indian core has pretty much remained the same on all editions in obviously the last 5 years or so, including Dhoni, Ambati Rayudu, Jadeja, Raina, Deepak Chahar, and Shardul Thakur. These are such familiar faces to us now. And even when we were preparing the playing 11 before this match, we didn't have any dilemma in the sense that which player to play, because we haven't seen any other faces.
I think the Dhoni and Fleming partnership. I think I think it's a match made in heaven, because they understand each other so well, and I think they fit in perfectly, which rubs off on the players actually, because the management at the top is so high class. It rubs off on all the players, and that consistency is also seen then throughout all the games.
Just quickly, I want to point one thing out. I think the consistency within CSK itself stems from the culture that has been, embraced. Because you can see, because we saw with SRH, we discussed that in the previous episode, that although they made it to the finals in 2018, still a year later, Tom Moody's was sacked. So that consistency reflects not only in the team selection and the team combinations, but it also reflects and is replicated in the leadership group selection, right? Because I think Fleming hasn't been sacked yet.
Because CSK, you might say that they've reached the finals so many times, but the fact still remains they've lost more finals than they've won. Yeah. So that is not a reason for the management to sack the coaches, which is what has kept CSK always in the top 4 in the table.
Yeah, I think now it's time for discussing the weaknesses. Not many weaknesses to discuss really, but quite a few important ones, I'd say. So apart from a few players that are very agile and mobile in the field, I think in terms of the fielding, especially in the outfield, except for the likes of Faf du Plessis, Suresh Raina, and Ravindra Jadeja, the average age of the team itself, it's quite an aged team, right? So the fielding... What?
It's around 30, 35. I'm not too sure, but the average is quite high. I think it's the highest among all IPL teams. That's why they were given the nickname Daddy's Army or Granddaddy's Army. But
the likes of Imran Tahir and all those players. There are a lot of players that that slack off in the outfield. And
Bhajan Singh, he's also quite old now.
Yeah. So clearly, in that sense, from a fielding perspective, they slack quite a bit in that.
I think they make up for that quite well by putting the fielders such as Jadeja, Faf, Raina in the hotspot positions in the outfield. Because I think anyway you are allowed to have only 4 or 5 men out in the death overs. So I think they have 4 or 5 pretty decent fielders like Jadeja, as I mentioned before. I think that way they're able to cover the hotspots.
It's a double-edged sword in that sense, because I'll tell you why. Because I think those are the players such as Tahir. These aged players are the ones that provide you the experience. They've been in those pressure situations time and time again for quite a few years now. Not only for the international teams, but they've played tournaments all around the world, from BBL, South African Premier League, Bangladesh, Pakistan, everywhere. They've played around the world. That experience counts at the end of the day, regardless. So
the good thing is the CSK players are coming from playing the CPL, the Caribbean Premier League. I think Tahir is consistently playing and performing well for some. So that will be a positive for CSK coming into this tournament.
Talking about the bowling, I think I highlighted this earlier on in this episode. I think that there is no frontline bowler as such except for Deepak Chahar or Lungi Nigiri. There is no frontline pacer that you would look up to and say, okay, he can get us a few wickets up front. Maybe Chahar, but what if there's no swing on offer? On those days, who they don't have that pacer that who bowls at around 145 k's an hour, who will really trouble the batsman even on flat decks. Because it won't surprise me to see a lot of flat decks or spin friendly wickets in the UAE. So in that case, they may struggle a bit if obviously they have spinners to back that up. But up front, if you need wickets, you need a guy with express pace to really deliver for you. So
I think that guy that you're talking about, the guy you can throw the ball to, used to be Dwayne Bravo a few years back, but I think he's been found out now. His average at his economy at the death is over 10, over 11, and I think he's at the end stages of his career. So I think you can't really depend on him. Obviously, he'll give you a few good games in the middle,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's that reliable man anymore who you can throw the ball to and say, "Hey, Bravo, give me a wicket." I don't think he is that man anymore. I think Lungi Ngidi is the main pacer in the team. If you see how he bowls with the new ball and at the death, I think he's a great asset to the CSK team. But other than that, the likes of Deepak Char, they'll bowl well with the new ball, but the death bowling isn't that great. Same with Shardul Thakur. He's okay in patches, but in the death, I think he has a very high economy, which is similar to Bravos. So I think that way the pace battery isn't that great. But the good thing is what you mentioned right now is that they have the spin to back it up. I think I remember one game against RCB. I think it was the opening game, and they started with the spinners. It was in Chennai. They started with Harbhajan Singh. They started with Jadeja,
Yeah.
and RCB got all out for I guess 80 or 70 odd. So they can easily make up for the lack of pace bowlers with their spinners. I think they have 8 or 9 spinners. They can go in with all spinners also if they want. They have that many spinners in their midst. But yeah, I think they're pretty well set. I think CSK is one of the teams that will actually benefit from the IPL happening in UAE because of the spin friendly tax. Because they have those spinners, that can perform well on those
Yeah.
tracks.
It's like it's playtime and it's free time. In the dance, yeah, they have it, talk a glance, yeah, we stepping out the room, 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 room.